classmates, my name is Taryn Scott. This is my digital storytelling video. Um, I chose to talk about cell phones, mostly because they've altered my society a lot. I grew up in a awkward time. I was born in '93, so I remember fully not having a cell phone, and I remember having a cord phone in the house. I got my first cell phone middle school-ish, so I've experienced both societies of not having a cell phone and what that entailed, as well as having a cell phone, the improvements that go with that, as well as the detriments that go with that. Um, so right here you're about to see how obsessed I am with my cell phone, a series of 3 photos that really encompass all of it. So those pictures are a little embarrassing, but the first one you saw was me taking a selfie on the cliffs of Moher in Ireland. The second is my twin brother and I in Boston, and I have a cell phone in my left hand. And then the third is me at Thanksgiving, totally sucked into my cell phone, just texting away with my aunt next to me, equally as obsessed with her cell phone. Going through my Facebook and just trying to find photos of me with a cell phone taking a selfie. Anything to do with cell phones was not hard at all. I take a lot of selfies, which I'm a little ashamed about. Going through and reflecting on how often I check my phone on a daily basis, or how much I depend on it for communication purposes or at work to check my email. I started realizing how absolutely obsessed I am with my phone. But it wasn't really until this next sequence I went to a barbecue, a graduation barbecue, and I decided to just, for the first time, really notice how often people are on their phones. So I started videotaping every time someone took out their phone. I started recording, and they all knew I was doing this. Didn't really stop them, but so take a look and you'll see what I saw. So I'm hoping those sequences of short videos were as shocking to you as they were to me the first time I saw them. I actually had probably about 20 other takes, but for time purposes I cut it down. What was most shocking to me was that you have the teenage boys, the seniors in high school, playing wiffle ball in the backyard, but they're still taking their cell phones out. You have the mom with her 2 infant children, and she's just constantly taking pictures of them on her cell phone. And then you have the older adults showing each other videos or pictures or whatever they're doing with their cell phone. I started realizing how often a cell phone got taken out, and it was actually interesting that half the time I couldn't even get the cell phone in the shot because people were so quick. They'd quickly whip it out of their pocket, text real quick, and then put it back in, and by the time they did that I couldn't get the camera ready in time. So but the age difference didn't affect how often someone checked their phone. And actually the younger generation tended to just be very quick with their cell phones. They'd take them out, quickly text and put them back in. The older generations tend to be on them longer, but not as frequently. So they would take them out and read a news article, or they would be showing each other videos at the table, or doing whatever they did. But so it was pretty even, the disparity between the 2 generations, 3 or 4 generations actually. So next you're going to see 2 interviews that I conducted, one of a 23-year-old male, the other of a 48-year-old male. I just asked them the same questions, but I nitpicked the best responses. I don't even know if that's ethical or not, but I just went through their interviews. Each of their interviews was about 40 minutes long, so but the things they have to say are very interesting, so take a look. So where's your phone right now?
In my pocket. Riding shotgun. Giving me cancer.
What do you do if your phone is not in the same room as you?
Probably go and find my phone. Honestly, yeah, I gotta have it with me. It's probably pretty terrible.
Do you lose track of time using your phone? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, actually, I'll just watch. I used to watch these videos on YouTube about plane crashes. I know it seems kind of morbid considering my profession, but about why planes crash, and so they're 8 to 10 minute videos. I just watch them over and over again, and then right before I go to bed, and I try to go to bed and be in bed by 10:45, and then watch a couple videos before I know it's midnight. I'm oh man. So something like that, easy to lose track of time, because the little phone time icon is gone when you're watching a video. So
your phone makes a noise or rings. How long do you typically wait to answer it?
However long it takes me to get it out of my pocket, depending on the social situation. If I'm obviously with someone or having a conversation or in a group setting, I'm not going to whip out my phone and answer it right then and there. But at the nearest point where I'm not involved or directly involved in a conversation, I will definitely give it a check and check out what happened.
This question, I'm not sure about that. Okay. According to Deloitte's 2015 Global Mobile Consumer Survey, the average consumer checks his or her smartphone 46 times a day. In the United States, people do this collectively 8 billion times every 24 hours. What are your reactions to the statistic?
Oh, not surprised at all. It's pretty crazy to think, when you take a step back and think of how connected and dependent we are on our cell phones. Definitely, just between figuring out, communicating, whatever this is, to change the music in the car, or, just checking Facebook every 2 seconds when I have downtime. 46. It makes you curious how many times I check my phone per day.
Yeah.
I probably lose count, honestly, if I try.
So what in your life has become easier because of your cell phone?
Oh, communication. Staying in touch. Just figuring out who's where and, what's going on. Big family, who's coming for dinner, who's going to be where and when. And that's super easy. It's also easy to stay connected. I know just talking to, me versus my parents in terms of reunions or, it's graduation season now. And it's, I remember, popped up a memory on my Facebook page, oh, hey, 5 years ago you graduated high school. It's wow, it's crazy, to look and compare all the stuff happening now and stuff you had then.
So what challenges have cell phones created in your life?
Challenges cell phones created in my life? I don't know that there's any one challenge that I could link directly to, this, because I have my cell phone, it's hard because of this, but, when we depend on it so much, I think its absence causes challenges. For me, and you didn't check in. Oh, sorry, my phone died. My phone's dead and not working, and I don't check in with mom about where I'm going to be, or if she thought I was coming for dinner and it didn't happen, whatever. Dad wants to know if I'm coming to this game or not, whatever it may be. If I'm not there and in communication, it schedule snafus and all that kind of stuff all over. So, definitely its absence. But I think in terms of straight up problems caused directly by the cell phone, is people have become very inward, not necessarily introverted. You can be an introvert and that's fine. Us having a cell phone won't change that, but we'll all be sitting around the living room, and instead of talking like a family back 20, 30 years ago would, or even just watching TV, we're watching TV also on our phones. Our attention span, we can never. I've even found myself watching short videos, and if it's after 30 seconds or whatever, if it's not really picking up, I'll just be all right, I'm not going to watch it anymore. I've noticed my attention span getting shorter and shorter. In terms of small things like that, obviously if I'm going to sit in a class or something, I'm going to pay attention or fall asleep, one or the other. But
so what was different about your childhood growing up without a cell phone compared to children today who grow up with them?
That's a good question. It's hard because I didn't grow up with obviously with a cell phone, so I really can't compare, because my life now with a cell phone is very different than a child's life in general. I don't know. I think the world was just a lot smaller when I was a kid. I don't know what Timmy's doing down the road, other than when I talk to Timmy at school and he tells me what he's doing down the road, or hey, I have plans for this. I mean, I remember being on the house phone if I wanted to call any of my friends. Hey, can my mom talk to your mom? She set up a play date. It's not now. It's just like, hey, you want to come over? All right, cool. And then people go wherever they need to go.
And when did you get your first smartphone? Yeah,
It was the first. It was. That would have been 10 years ago. It was BlackBerry.
10 years. Oh, wow.
It's a BlackBerry.
So where's your cell phone right now?
Out on the deck.
Out on the deck, and you're okay with that? You know, how do you react when your cell phone isn't on you or close to you?
Doesn't bother.
Doesn't bother you at all.
No.
Okay. Have you ever used it so much where you've lost track of time? You're tunneled in and buried in the phone.
No, there's a clock on it.
So there have no.
No, I don't have apps on that. I don't have any games on my phone or things like that. No.
Now, is that strictly because it's a business phone or
Nope.
your personal preference?
Personal preference. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So think about your typical day, and this kind of a runoff of the business phone. What is the typical usage like on that cell phone for you personally?
Email.
So
I would say my phone usage is probably 70% email, 20% text, 10% phone calls.
phone calls.
Yeah, probably 10%.
Like
Just
that?
sports news. I used to do Facebook, but I don't have it anymore because I did find myself wasting time on that. I did.
With that, do you feel that owning a cell phone has introduced or made that overload of information in general more of a big deal or more of a factor in your day-to-day life than it used to be without?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
And is that good, bad?
I think
would
it's
you
a
say?
good thing, and the people who say it's a bad thing, well, that's their fault. Because you can control what you do. I mean, it's not like Facebook is making you go on Facebook 30 times a day. That's their own. Everybody has different personalities. So it's not the cell phone's fault that you're wasting time. If you're wasting time on that, you probably would have found something else in the world to waste time on.
Right.
It's not just the cell phone. So
Speaking of that, going in, you do work from home a lot. You're very mobile.
Yes.
Because of the phone. How would your
Absolutely.
daily routine change if that phone wasn't part of the picture?
oh, it would. My life would be. I couldn't do, especially with what's going on with Caitlin.
Right.
I couldn't do that without the mobile technology. Could not do it. I would have to go to my office with a phone on my desk all day, and the network, the computer network.
Right.
So no, cell phones, technology may not have made everything great, but it's definitely allowed me to live the life that I live now.
What challenges has mobile technology, cell phones, presented for you personally?
Okay, so I think we come to rely on it so much, like I said before, with communication, that it becomes extremely frustrating when technology doesn't work. I think we rely on it so much that when you get a dropped call or you can't get on the work network or whatever happens with phones, they freeze up or anything, and I think those things there can be so frustrating because we're just so reliant on them and used to them working the way they're supposed to work all the time.
That's fine. Do you wish you had any of that technology growing up?
No.
No.
Nah, I mean, you know what? Since we didn't have it and everything was great and fun, I don't think I would ever wish that I had it.
Yeah.
No. I mean, there might have been times it was convenient, but there were probably times it was good that somebody couldn't get in touch with it.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for young people, or children in regards to cell phones or?
Yeah, don't forget to talk to people. Learn how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are certain situations and certain times that pay attention to who you're around, whether it's family, out in public, socially. But you just pay attention to who you're around or whatever, and sometimes just put it away. And talk to people. You guys, your generation's good at it. Caitlin's generation, sometimes they'll sit there on their phones and all that.
So one of the biggest differences I saw between Michael and Sean was that Michael had his cell phone, I think he said, riding shotgun right in his front pocket, and Sean had to think about it for a second where his phone was, and it was actually on the back deck, so it was out on the porch. And then with Michael, he used his cell phone for more social purposes, social media, games, that kind of stuff. But with Sean, he used it to make sure he could keep in touch with his daughter and son, and for work purposes. So his cell phone was actually purchased for him through work. But with Michael, he purchased his own cell phone, but he used it for more social purposes rather than work purposes or anything like that. Other than that, a lot of their answers were pretty similar, I found. Maybe you've drawn your own conclusions, but I find that age, or the age you were at when you got your cell phone, no matter what, I think we're pretty equally addicted. When I read them the statistic about checking your phone 46 times a day, both assumed that was either extremely accurate or they checked it more. I myself definitely feel like I check my phone more than 46 times a day. So the interviews were very interesting in that there were some differences, but a majority of the time they were very similar in their responses as to how dependent they are on their phone, and both acknowledge the fact that they're dependent on their phone, and that they wouldn't want to live without that phone, but they don't really want to do anything about that dependency. They think the phone is generally a positive thing. When they were both asked what negative things have come out with cell phones, they had to think about it for a bit, and both answered that people were sucked in their cell phone and they're less face-to-face interaction social, which I'm not really surprised about, because that is very true. So as far as answering the actual question, I think cell phones have altered society immensely. Definitely with the contact, there's constant contact between you and your loved ones or your friends. Definitely with ease of information, looking things up with information. It's all literally at our fingertips now. I think those are some definite positive changes. I think cell phones, we're all very attached to our cell phones, and the thought of not having a cell phone is scary to a lot of us, and that dependency is a little scary. Definitely with younger generations, Sean had mentioned that his daughter Caitlin is always on her cell phone, and no matter where they are in a restaurant or wherever, she's on her cell phone. And with younger generations, it's getting a little worse, where that they're not able to make that decision whether or not it's a good time to be on their phone or not, and being able to carry a conversation in person is becoming less of a skill that they have. So I have noticed that. So yeah, all in all, I think society has been affected for the better because of cell phones. I think there is some negativity, not negativity, but there are some downsides to having cell phones. I could definitely see it in my younger brother. He's on his phone all the time. If he's not on his computer, he's on his phone. He's always in front of a screen. He doesn't really go outside a lot and do what normal children do. He's on his phone. So there is some downsides, but overall, I would say that being very connected, the information that comes along with having a cell phone, the ease of mind for the parents with that, if their children have cell phones, there's a lot of positive things that have come around.